Good morning. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I am Victoria Gaulrapp, and I am bubbling up inside with excitement. Not so much for the topic. I dig this stuff, but I have waited almost a year to be a speaker at BHS. So I know that Anthony and the group here work incredibly hard to find high quality speakers. I'm not saying that because I'm standing up here, but I've come here for a little over a year now, and every single time I make it here, or if I can't make it and I watch online, I walk away learning something I didn't know, or an idea or a concept that has been reinforced. So it's really, really exciting. So I'm really excited to be here. So I'm going to take the next 28 minutes or so and pretty much, does this resonate with anybody? Do you have a people problem, regardless of where you are in your business, in your life? Does this resonate with you? Does it make you cringe, roll your eyes? Or are you like, oh, haha, that's so funny, I have a people problem? I don't have a people problem, but she's got a people problem. Does this resonate with anybody? Okay. All right. So just a quick note about me before I dive into this. As a corporate speaker and trainer for 20 years now, I am DISC certified. So what we're going to talk about today is based around the DISC model. However, the majority of us in this room are not corporate associates. We are entrepreneurs. We are small business owners, big business owners. Some of us are in transition. Some of us are corporate employees. So rest assured, this information can be applied to anything you're doing. It can even be applied to your personal lives. So on the table, there is a piece of paper. Feel free to take notes on that if you'd like. And when this is over, if you want the slide deck, or if this really intrigues you and you want to get into it more, I do have an entire accompanying workbook that covers this material, because normally it takes me about 2 hours to go through this. So if you're intrigued by this or you geek out on it like I do, let me know. I'll have my contact information for you, and I'm happy to send you anything that you would like. So, because I am nerdy, I like to dive into the nuts and bolts and the history of things. So, who has heard of William Marston? By a show of hands, does anybody know who William Marston is? Okay, perfect. Not a lot of you. So, Professor William Marston, he went to Harvard. He was a pretty smart guy. He was a lawyer. He was an inventor. He was a psychologist. But he did not create the thing we know as the DISC assessment. So before we talk about that, would anybody like to take a stab at something or someone that Professor William Marston created? Think superhero. Just shout it out. What superhero do you think this guy, born in the late 1800s, created? I heard Superman, Spider-Man. Wonder Woman. This man created Wonder Woman. I tried to drop a hint on the Facebook page the other day. So how many of you have taken a DISC assessment? Raise your hand. Okay. Keep your hands up, everybody, if you've taken a DISC assessment. If you have taken more than one DISC assessment, keep your hands up. Okay, so the majority of you have who have had one. If your style has changed from the first DISC assessment to the second, keep your hand up. Very few of you. Okay, so the whole theme here, it's about people problems, but it's about changing behavior. So, before I talk about what DISC really is and how it can benefit you in your business and in your lives, it's very important that I talk about what it is not. Because in the DISC world, nerdy people like me who geek out on this stuff, there's one thing that people say over and over and over again. Oh, yeah, they made me take that DISC personality thing. Oh, that DISC personality assessment is one of those stupid personality things. DISC is not, it's a model used to look at how we choose to behave in certain situations. It is not a tool used to analyze personality. Personality is who we are. We are born, we grow up, and we become a person. Personality, it is our genetic makeup, it is the fiber of our being, and that is very different from behavior. It is not meant to classify people. Human beings, we put people in a box enough as it is, and we classify them and we label them, and that's not what this tool is for. It's a tool for understanding and awareness. It doesn't measure intelligence. It does not measure knowledge. It does not measure skill set, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. And the big one, if you do understand DISC at all, maybe you've heard this, oh, well, they fall in that category. That's why they act that way. Or, yeah, well, the DISC says that I'm this, so that totally explains why I can't stop talking. And people make excuses using the DISC model and the DISC assessment to justify their poor behavior. So that's not what it is, okay? But what it is a model used to analyze how people are going to behave in certain situations. We cannot choose to behave the same way in every situation that life puts in front of us. So the easiest way to think about DISC, because we're saying analyze and assessment and model and history, so just look at the two photos. Okay, this represents on the left the job interview. Okay, if you've been in a job interview, maybe some of you have never had to do that. If you're in a job interview, you might be tense, you're on point, you're on target, you've done your homework, you're going in there, yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm jazzed. But it's a job interview, so you know that people will be watching you. People are paying attention to you as the interviewee, and hopefully you're behaving in such a way to present your professional best. But then you go on vacation and you have vacation brain. Woohoo! Party, margarita, beach, sand, you know, or the mountains, and you're gonna climb the mountain, you're like, I'm not gonna shower for a week. And you're so excited because you can just let loose and you can be who you wanna be because nobody's really watching, and if they are, you could care less. So when we think about DISC and the DISC model and the DISC assessments, it really asks you questions to think about how you are behaving in certain situations. So just think, I've got vacation brain, or oh man, I've got to go to that interview. Ooh, I've got that test. Ooh, they're watching me. So think about it like that, because we don't hopefully behave the same way in both of those situations. All right, so on the table, you have this piece of paper. Now, it does not matter to me if you do this exercise or not, but I really think it could benefit you. So as we're going through the talk, take a look at that piece of paper. We've got the happy guy and the sad guy. We're gonna give them the label of guy. So I want you to think about, if you are in business, if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you are a job seeker, maybe you've got a job right now and you've got some colleagues or managers, just write down the name, if you'd like, or initials, of someone who gets you so excited. You're like, oh my gosh, I get to work with that person today, or oh yay, I get to see them, or I get to call this client, or this prospective client. Okay, think about the person who really lights you up and write their name down on the piece of paper. And then conversely, I want you to think about that client, that prospect, that colleague. Try to keep family members out of this for this exercise. You're almost dreading it. You kind of get that pit in your stomach. Oh, man, I gotta call them. I mean, I know it's gonna be a good deal, but I just, I'm dreading this. Like, can I just send them an email instead? Or maybe I'll call them when I know they're not gonna answer the phone. Write that person's name down in the not so happy guy area. And as we go through this, just want you to keep those names or those people in mind, okay? So we're gonna dive into this. There's a lot of stuff on the slide, so we're gonna touch upon some things. But when we talk about DISC, if you are familiar with it, it basically classifies your human behavior, how you choose to behave, in 4 categories, okay? Dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance, DISC. And we're going to break this down and see how it can apply to what you are doing in your business and daily lives. So when we hear dominance, it's how you, if you are a dominant behavior style, and again, this could change over time based on life circumstances, it's about you. And when we're in business, it can't always be about you. Most of the time, it can't be about you. Look at this group. The whole purpose of this group is getting people together to network and share and take it outside and have some coffee and learn about one another's businesses and help one another. So a dominant behavior style, it's very much about them. Okay, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We'll talk about that. It's very I-centered and I-focused, okay? Influence. If you are of the behavior style of being an influencer, it's about the pace of the environment. It's about the feel. It's about the energy. It's about the vibe. It's about what's going on. I know the first time I walked into BHS, August of last year, I felt like the room was vibrating. I thought, oh my gosh, what just happened to me? I was really surprised. There was such a positive energy in this room, right? So when we think of influence, think that way. Influence is very much about the collective we. We are in this together. Steadiness is exactly what it says. It's how you respond to rules, regulations, procedures, step by step. So maybe as I'm talking through this right now, you're thinking about yourself, or maybe some people you know or you work with, they're very instruction manual driven. If they buy a piece of furniture from IKEA and the instructions are not in there, they will either Google it or they will fall apart. Okay, they're very step-by-step, process-oriented behavior styles. And then for compliance, it's also exactly what it says. It's in a situation, how are you going to respond to the challenges? So just to touch upon it, and again, this is not to classify people, but most of us who choose careers in, if you're a doctor, if you're an attorney, if you're a C-level person, if you're an executive in a corporation, most of the time you'll fall into the dominant category. So start thinking about the people you know, okay, or your clients, what they do for a living. Your influence, what do you think that's going to be? What kind of people? The warm fuzzies. Who said it? Yes. Marketing, advertising, party and event planning, training. You're all about the people. Sales. You go to buy a car and a sales representative comes out and they put you in the seat of that car and you've got the leather seats and it's this fire engine red and they're like, oh, can you just feel the leather seats just hugging you? Can you just picture yourself driving down that mountain road with the top down? And they're all about how the car feels. A dominant person is going to say, just tell me what the price is, okay? Your steady individuals, they're very calm. They like to follow rules and procedures step by step. If you are a massage therapist or a yoga instructor, and you have someone who behaves in such a way that they are a steady individual, a steady behavior style, they may want you to walk them step by step. I won't even attempt it right now. Now put your leg up like this and rest it between your kneecap and the middle of your calf, and you have to walk them step by step. Okay, now I'm going to start on your shoulders, and then I'm going to move this way, and then in a couple minutes I'm going to do this, which not a lot of people want the conversation when they're having a massage. But if we think corporately, someone who behaves in a steady manner, that's going to be teachers, counselors, therapists, caregivers. Very slow and steady wins the race. They are great listeners. They want to absorb all of the information, okay? And then your compliance. What do you think? What type of career fields would a compliance behavior style most likely fall into? Government.
Managers.
Law.
Managers in law could be, think accountants, IT professionals, engineers, people who really like to get in the weeds and dot their I's and cross their T's. So think about the people that you work with or the folks that you're chasing down for your businesses or for a job, things like that. How are they behaving? You can tell them all of the information and give it to them verbally. They'll want a spreadsheet. They'll want the facts. They'll want the data. So let's break this down a little more. If you have a client, or you can even think about it with your friends, the D, the dominant style, they are going to ask you the what questions. What is the price? What is the brand? What do you want? The what questions. When a dominant behavior style is feeling pressured, when they're stressed, they may come off as not a nice person. Doesn't mean it's who they are, it's not their personality, it's how they're choosing to behave in a particular situation, okay? And you might walk away and say, well, gosh, that person doesn't like me. And that's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's just how they're choosing to behave in that situation. And then most of your Ds, one of their biggest fears is a loss of control. So think about those people and how they're behaving, people whom you may know like that, okay? Now, I know this is not political, this is fact, okay? These folks who have done DISC assessments, Madonna, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Simon Cowell, J-Lo, Barbara Walters, we're probably all familiar with who they are. So do you see where I'm going with this? Very dominant behavior styles. People love them, or people just can't stand them, right? So the I's, they ask the who questions. Who's going to happy hour? Who's going to lunch? Who went to the party? Oh my gosh, who was there? Did you see the purple socks on that guy? They were rocking. Oh my gosh, did you see the decorations in the room? Those are your I's. They're going to be the warm, fuzzy, fluffy feeling kind of people. They're all about we. They want to keep it together, the collective we, making sure that everybody's included. Under pressure, and I used to be a hardcore I, and I'm not anymore, but under pressure they seem disorganized, confused, aloof. You tell them something and they're like, eh. It's not that they didn't hear you, and it's not that they didn't pay attention, but in a pressure situation, they may seem very confused and very disorganized. An I's greatest fear, one of their greatest fears, is social rejection. Think about the marketing, the sales, the party, we're all in it together. Oh my gosh, the purple socks. If you reject them, it hurts. If you ignore them, it hurts. Whoa! So, when we look at some well-known I's, we've got Bill Clinton, Ellen DeGeneres, Will Smith, Wayne Brady, Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell. What's a common thread you see here with these people?
They're funny.
They're funny, Hollywood, actors, entertainers. They want front and center stage time. Okay, they like to be in the spotlight. That's a lot of your I's, okay? So your S's, your steadies, they ask the how questions. How are we going to assemble this bed? How are we going to get to the meeting? They want to know step by step from A to Z how they're going to get there, okay? Under pressure, a steady, think the counselor, the teacher, the therapist, they may appear too willing. You might think, why are they always offering to help me? My gosh, I spilled my coffee and they cleaned it up. Like they want to help me carry my stuff to the next meeting. They always want to help me. Why is that? Because that's a turnoff to some people. It's just their behavior style. It has nothing to do with their personality. But in a pressure situation, they may appear too willing. Loss of stability, steady. Loss of stability. The S one is a really easy one to remember. Again, without Google Maps, oh my gosh, or Waze, and just like, I don't know, just meet me at the parking lot, at the dino lots off of I-70. You know where it is, follow the signs. And, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get there and I need instructions and I gotta drive to the place in advance so that I make sure I can get there on time and not be late. That's an extreme example. But just think of it in that way with a steady person. Slow and steady wins the race. They're the peacekeepers. They want the flow. They want to know how they're going to get to their final destination. So these names here, again, you've got some entertainers, quiet. Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick, remember him? Halle Berry, very quiet, under the radar. You've got some athletes here. So we don't hear a lot from these people, but they're out there. They're your steady behavior style. And then finally, your C, they're going to ask you the why questions. Why did you print the report single-sided in color? My gosh, you just killed so many trees and you wasted so much stuff. Why didn't you do your research? Why didn't you bring me more facts and more data? They're going to ask the why questions. Don't be offended by it, especially if you have a product. Why should I buy your product? Why should I buy your nutritional plan? Why should I use you as my financial strategist? Why should I buy a home from you? Why should I buy that home versus that home? Okay, so think about that with your businesses. Under pressure, they are the fact finders. They are the people who gather the data and do their research and their homework. So many times they assume you haven't. Okay, so they're the all-knowing in that situation. So when they're feeling stressed out, they may appear to be overcritical. And again, it's just the behavior style that they're choosing for that situation. But if you flip that and you criticize their work, just be prepared for some pushback. Because again, in their minds, they've done the homework. I guarantee you there are people in this room who have seen all of these tables over here and they're thinking about it like, man, should I go talk to that person or not? They're my buddy for breakfast at BHS, but I don't really know. Let me go home and do the research on what they're talking about right now. Okay, those are your C's. So these names here, Al Gore, Clint Eastwood, Johnny Depp, Tiger, Jack, Ted. This would make complete and total sense with Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Why? What do they do? What did they do? Golf.
Ball over a lot of land.
Yeah, exactly. They just launched the ball many, many, many yards. You have to be very precise and very calculated and very exact on the golf course, if you care about your score. Some of us don't. So think about that with your C's. So are you starting to think about now that piece of paper that you have in front of you, whether or not you're writing on it, that's okay, it doesn't matter to me. Think about your prospects, think about your clients. Is this starting to resonate with you, especially for the name or names that you may have written down in the sad face category, the not so enjoyable category? So continue on that piece of paper. We're going to dive in a little deeper on how you can influence those different styles if you can figure out what they are without knowing their disc assessment type. But just really start to write down, for the positive or the not so positive, characteristics, memories, triggers, thoughts, things about why you love working with them, why you want them as a client, why you want to work for them, why you want to be their friend. What is it about them? And then in the not so happy category, start to write down things about that person that, oh gosh, I am dreading it. I'm dreading this conversation. Please just don't answer the phone. Oh my gosh. Which I'm not sure why you would go after someone like that as a client, but it happens, right? We do it, or maybe we just can't get a good read on people sometimes, and then we find out like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? So think about that as you're going through, and you'll start to see patterns. And again, the DISC model and the assessment, if you have a chance to do one or know somebody who has theirs, again, we don't use it to classify or judge, but we can use this because maybe you're really scared of a dominant behavior style, like, oh my gosh, I just wish they would like me. And deep down inside, they adore you, but they're not gonna tell you that. They're not gonna tell you that because it's about them. It's about them, and they just want the facts and they want it fast, okay? So it's not about likability, but then you can adjust your style to be like, all right, All right, let me take myself out to the woodshed for a second. Let me look at myself. Let me think about how I can adjust my behavior to maybe not be so warm and fuzzy, not give so much information, okay? So, very quickly, when communicating with a dominant behavior style, give alternatives. If they don't like the TV you picked out for them, you better have a plan B and you better have it fast. Don't get emotional, okay? They're very black and white, cut and dry. Don't go around them, don't step on them, don't walk over them. But if you want to influence them in a business situation, give them immediate feedback. Be fast on your feet. Stay focused on the subject, don't deviate. And then, they may not be in a position of power, but they think they are. So just go ahead and respect that. Please respect that situation, because at the end of the day, that piece doesn't matter, okay? It's the service and the product that you can provide to them. Your influencers, they want the warm fuzzies, the assurance, oh my gosh, Air 5, great job, be positive with them, don't ignore them. Now, I'm not condoning touching. Some people don't like to be touched. I've hugged people and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But it's okay with an I behavior style to get a little closer. And then when working with them, no matter what oh gosh, I don't think I can afford this house. Oh my gosh, yes, you can. I don't know if I should get that car. Oh, I will help you. Not in a manipulative way, but be optimistic about the situation. They're quality timers. Your eyes are quality timers, okay? Give them the time that they are seeking and be a very active, responsive listener. Oftentimes we think we're listening, we're not as active as we could or should be in that situation. With your steady behavior style, slow your roll, okay? These folks are processing the information. Present the situation, the issues, the pieces and parts in a logical manner, and be patient. Be patient. If you're not a patient person, you may struggle with a steady behavior style. They want trust. Oh my gosh, they are going to take their time with you. You've got to establish that trust in order to win them over to get your product. Give them feedback and be well, yeah, I thought about this 5 minutes later. Oh wait, yeah, and I forgot to tell you about this. Give them feedback because they want it, but be organized about it. And then piece by piece commitment. Okay, I'm with you. I'm your realtor. We're going to get a house. Yeah. And then, okay, so we've got these options in this neighborhood. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to narrow it down to these two. And piece by piece, give them the solutions that they're looking for. And then with your compliant, a lot of times they're not interested in the human element at all. It's about it. It's about the task. It's about the thing, okay? So don't bring personal stuff into it. Don't touch them. Don't touch them until you know them really well. But stick to the task. Control your own activity. Stay focused on the situation. Remember, they're very data-driven, analytical. They do the research and they do the homework. Give them details because they'll ask you why. Why this? Why this? Why is the sky blue? Why does the harvest moon look like that? Why should I buy that house with the granite instead of that house with the quartz? Why should I pick that financial portfolio instead of that one? They're going to ask you the why questions. Be open to their questions, even if you know in your heart of hearts that you've got the right answer for them. They're going to ask you questions and they're going to push back on you, and that's okay. Just be armed and be prepared. Don't pressure them, okay? They've done the homework, or they think they have. They've analyzed it. They've done the research. They know the data. They know the facts. Just give them time. Don't leave them. Be patient, but just give them time. So in the end, I truly believe this statement from Emily Dickinson: behavior is what a man does. It's not what he thinks or what he feels or what he believes. It is what he does. Behavior is a choice. If we choose the right behavior for a given situation, it will drive the results that we want. Thank you. Thank you.